Hello, everyone. Welcome to Epic Events podcast. Our guest today is someone who truly lives and breathes events, Laura, the Senior Manager of Global Event Marketing at Hootsuite. With over a decade of experience across field marketing, brand activations, and experiential strategy, Laura has led everything from scrappy on the ground campaigns to global event programs that drive pipeline and deepen customer loyalty. Laura, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Perfect. Laura, if we can just start with your current role at Hootsuite, what kind of events you typically run? We'll get started from there. And even before you do that, I always ask this question to everyone in this podcast: what led you to join events as a profession? Because not many one of us go and do bachelors in events marketing or any of those kind of things. So just walk us through that journey of how you came to where you are within your career profession.
Yeah, well, I didn't even know event marketing was a career path for me. I'm happy that I kind of stumbled upon it and found it. Originally, when I was going to university, I went to university for communications, and I thought I wanted to do public relations. So I was interning at a small public relations firm in Vancouver, where we were really focused on restaurant PR. And my favorite part of that was doing the media previews and events that we would do there. And I loved it so much. The other side of PR, I didn't like as much. And I thought, how do I just do events? So it took me a while to find my path, but I did event marketing for catering company. And then eventually I was in the publishing industry in Vancouver, working for magazines, doing their like award show events. And then I found my way into, I've done a lot of different industry shifts. I've been here in tech for the last 7 years, but I went from publishing to I was in a design place as well, high end design, doing trade shows around the world. And then I was at a CPG company, an organic cereal company, doing kind of events with them and trade shows and consumer shows. And so I've kind of had a very large breadth of experience touching many different industries. But then 7 years ago, I joined Hootsuite. And the tech world is so fast and fun, and I love working in B2B marketing tech. And yeah, as of now, I lead the team here at Hootsuite for our global event marketing. And the type of events we focus on are everything from sponsored third-party trade shows. We host smaller dinner, intimate events, and then we do kind of a bit larger, maybe more of a like 50 to 100 people. We call them social breakfast events or dinners, that are a bit more with some content and everything like that. But we don't have any massive user conferences as a lot of tech companies do. But we are very busy with the schedule we have. And we do the events that drive the results for us.
Laura, I have seen this trend of a lot of tech companies, including us, started to pivot into these smaller, intimate gatherings of I don't know, anywhere from 10 people to 50 people. I'll tell you like why we do that, but just walk us through like why Hootsuite and you guys as a company decided to opt in for that rather than just one big user conference. What was the strategy behind that?
Yeah, we've always had like I joined in 2018, and ever since there's always been rumblings of times where we're almost about to start that user conference. But I really like look at the goals and make sure, you want the right people in the room. And sometimes like everybody knows it's very expensive to put on a user conference. But sometimes that amount of people is are you going to get the same results inviting that amount of people compared to 50 people in the room? What if you have 50 of your top enterprise targets in the room? That well, everyone would love that, but that's where you're going to see the results. So I always, weigh the pros and cons. And do we spend a huge budget and get results that maybe we get for much smaller budget? So it's just kind of what justifies the results for me.
Yep. And is there a science behind how many customers slash prospects slash your own staff members can be in that room? I've
Yes.
seen different people just having really different theories behind that. that
Yeah.
number?
Depending on what it is, if it's something like our dinners, usually majority would be customers, and it's more of a retention play. But then we obviously want to invite. Usually for the dinners, we'd invite like late stage prospects, and then we actually find it's like the customers end up selling the product to them themselves
Really?
because we're discussing whatever. So I think that's kind of the best ratio. Also, when you say like how many like staff or employees, it's always I'm the gatekeeper. Everyone wants to. I can't stand like we can't have like more Hootsuite employees than attendees
Yeah.
at the event. So we try and keep it very small, enough that it can keep the conversation going. But yeah, we want to make sure that there's a balance between everybody.
So, for example, what would be the typical split, right? Dinners are 50 people or 20 people, because 50 is a lot
Dinners would be about more 20 people in the room.
of people.
And out of that 20, maybe I'd say four could be Hootsuite.
Okay.
Maybe we have like 1 to 2 executives and then a couple key account people. And then I would say maybe 10 are customers and the other 6 are maybe later stage prospects.
Perfect. And then 50 people, you mentioned about the breakfast. So I know about the dinners. I have never done breakfast. Do people
Mhm.
show up for the breakfast? I just always feel that I don't know, like whether that would work or not.
I don't know if that's our like secret formula at Hootsuite, but people like the breakfast because they get it, it's first thing in the morning. So they don't have all day to decide, oh, I'm too tired or I got stuck in a meeting. They've
Mhm.
planned it in their agenda. They're usually going there first. They don't go to the office first.
Yeah.
And it's like they build it into their day. So they've planned that this event is happening. And I always find great attendance at the breakfast.
Yeah, looks like a secret sauce. I've seen it working in different, like in few countries. I haven't tried it in North America yet.
Mhm.
So for dinners, I know it's like 6 p.m., 7 p.m., and then like all the way to I don't know 9, 10, 10:30, depending on
Mhm.
who's staying for as long. What's typical like breakfast time? Is it starting at 9 a.m. and then all the way up until like 11:30, 12, or?
It really depends on, where we're doing the dinner. So one part of being like a global event marketing manager, I have to really consider the audience. And I always want to get educated by our team there on the site. Like, for example, we did a breakfast in Paris earlier this year, and they were like, we want to have it. I think it was like 8:30 in the morning they wanted to start it. And, for if I was doing that in New York, I don't know, we would probably start at 9 o'clock in the morning. So it's just kind of, talk to the teams locally, see what makes sense locally, because you want to make sure. Like I was just on a call this morning with our sales leaders in EMEA, and like Paris was saying, "Oh, we love the dinner event in Paris. We want more dinners." And then the London team was saying, "Breakfast is better because as of 5 p.m., everyone in London wants to go home."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just figuring out who your audience is and where you are.
And for the breakfast, is it 2 hours? And like, what's the typical agenda, right? Because for dinners, and again, maybe you can, what I've typically seen is that, 6 to 7 p.m., check in, networking, etc. 7 p.m., some people are doing this 30-minute, kind of like someone will come and take the order while they're taking the order.
Mhm.
There's, I don't know, 15 to 30 minutes, like product updates or, whatever you want to present. And then 7:30 p.m. to like 9 p.m., of course, you have the main course and a bit of networking, etc. So we'll come to like what's typically the agenda that you recommend for dinners. But let's start with breakfast. Like, what's typically the agenda over there? Like for and
Yeah.
then is it for 2 hours, 3 hours, like the typical format for that?
So the breakfast is usually a long can be longer than the dinners, and it's more of a format for sure that we have people arrive and it's maybe 45 minutes of kind of a standing breakfast. There's coffee, there's food, there's high tops. Everyone can network and chat and get their food, and then we would do programming after that. So maybe about 3 hours total, including that 45 minutes at the beginning. We usually like to leave a little time at the end. I like to do mix of formatting of, and the trend is shorter now. So no longer like we used to do 45-minute presentations, and now it's just people can't sit for that long. So
Yeah.
we like to mix it up with maybe we'll have some breakouts. We just did a workshop a couple months ago where we would have a 20-minute session and then we would break out for 20 minutes into groups, and people got up and talked and walked around. And so it makes everything go faster. People don't feel like they're sitting in their seats just listening to somebody talk to them. And then, yeah, a mix of like keynote versus panels versus interactive. We don't want to just be lectured at anymore.
Yep. Yep. And the breakfast is also 20 people, or do you have?
Breakfast, that would be like, could be 50 to 100 people.
Wow,
Hmm.
perfect. That's very high attendance count for. Okay. Which one is your favorite, dinners or breakfast? Like, which one is easier to execute? Which one is more cost effective? Which one typically has a better ROI? Like high level. I know that it will always vary from one location to another, but
Yeah, dinners are easier to do because we keep it a minimal. So it's more conversation starters. It's thought leadership driven. It's not, at like presentations. It's more like we just did one in London, and it's like our creative director, he just gets up and talks for 20 minutes, and in asking questions is very interactive. So the dinners are easier to plan, and can be like, you get a restaurant for 20 people in a private room. It's pretty affordable. And especially those 20 that you've picked to be in that room, it's more enterprise level. You're getting a great ROI from it. Um, and then the breakfast, it's more like that's where we can get some more of the prospecting. And, maybe they're not late funnel prospects. Maybe, we're just having conversations. We haven't even opened the opportunity with them yet. So a breakfast then is like, it's more planning from a content perspective. You need to get speakers, there's more moving parts. But the one great thing about breakfast is like there isn't alcohol. So it's a lot, it
yeah,
is more affordable in that way.
yeah, yeah. And like, do you want to define, because affordability can be different for different type of companies, right? So again, on average, per attendee, what would be a typical cost for a breakfast versus an attendee?
Mm,
Like, so a breakfast versus a dinner, right? So
yeah.
I'll give you my numbers. So again, typically for 20 people dinner, yeah. Again, depending on like whether you're doing it in New York versus in a
Yeah.
different place, I would say it can go anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000. So you're typically talking about $200 per person, like 200 to 300 per person, right? So that's typically for us for the dinner. I've
Mhm.
never done breakfast, so I have no idea. So
Mhm.
like, what's your?
Yeah, I would say same for the dinners with us. Like that's around what it nets with us. Breakfast, I don't know. I haven't done a proper cost analysis recently, but it would be cheaper. You have more volume. Like the catering isn't as, you're not having to sit down like 5-course meal or something like that. We're not at, a fancy Michelin restaurant. So it can be more affordable for the volume. I don't have an exact number for you, but yeah, it wouldn't cost as much per person. And that's why you are having that. Okay, we're going to let those earlier stage prospects in.
And again, the event planners who plan a lot of this stuff, how early would you recommend them that they start planning for a dinner or for a breakfast, right? Like, sometimes people think, oh, by the way, let's do a dinner next week. I don't know how anyone can do that, because like, you can do a dinner with your family next week, but if you're trying to invite 20 people, it takes
Mhm.
weeks of efforts, right? So typically your timeline, like how soon do you typically start for something like a
Well,
dinner?
there's definitely the times. There's my ideal timeline, which at least for a dinner, I'd love 2 months notice, because
Yeah.
then we can properly get it all ready. Have I planned dinners in 3 weeks? Yes. Are they then smaller? Yes, because we need that. I want to give the sales team a good month to go out with the registration page, with all the targeted invites, to make sure we get the right people in the room. So if we have 2 months, it's going to be a really good dinner. And sometimes leadership might not understand this. They're
Yep.
just like, oh, I'm going to be here. Let's do this. Let's make it happen. We can make it happen, but it's going to be a smaller dinner, and it's harder. Lots of people set their schedules. It's hard to,
Yep.
the earlier you are, the better. For the breakfasts, I would say you want to start planning like 4 months out at least, just
four
because of,
months because of the
yeah.
volume.
Yeah. So, like, for example, I just had a kickoff call. We're going to do a Gov breakfast, probably. We haven't picked the date, but maybe late November. And we just did a kickoff call last week, to start talking about it's the content. Who do we want? Who are we targeting? Guest speakers we want. We need to start talking about that now to make sure then we have great content. You can definitely plan it in 2 months if you want, for sure. But are you going to get the best speakers there? You need to start thinking those little things. The more detailed planning for that breakfast can start about 2 months out, but the concept and everything and the theme, you want to get that going earlier.
Do you recommend to piggyback on a big event that, like around this big event, everyone is going to be, let's say, in New York or in San Francisco, etc., and let's do our dinner around this really big event that's happening?
Yeah.
Do
Yeah,
you
we've done
sometimes guys
that.
do that?
We're doing that at some events this fall as well. You have to, it depends. Like you need to be very targeted and make sure, because sometimes there's those events and maybe the event itself does a bunch of dinners and
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense to do it then if everyone is really strictly sticking um to the venue and the third party event you're going to. But we have one coming up that we're going to be doing. I'm not going to say, because sometimes the organizers don't like when you're doing these around, but
yeah,
we've already started. We have one for September sometime, and we have already started inviting people because we know that you need to get those people locked down early because there's going to be many competing events going on. Mhm.
yeah. No, I agree. Like I think for all of these HubSpot inbound and then Salesforce, Dreamforce, or sometimes a SaaStr event, like everyone is there, and then but I also agree that everyone is doing these dinners. So sometimes then your dinner does not. It becomes hard. You're just competing with 100 other dinners at the same time.
Yeah.
Um, Typical checklist, right? So again, it looks like you want to set up a landing page, you want to set up a
Mhm.
registration form,
Mhm.
you want to again give tools to your sales team to help them go ahead and promote it to their customers as well as to their prospects. Do you do like generic marketing to get these people signed up, or are you guys very very specific? Like, is the invite out there on social media, or is it really email uh, based invite only, so that you can get the 20 that you really want to get? Because
Yeah.
yeah.
I think we always start with our target list. And
Mhm.
so, especially for a lot of our owned events like that are the dinners and everything, we wouldn't really put it out on social because we would get a huge response.
Exactly.
And so, we want to make sure it's the ROI is going to be there. So, we always start with that. Maybe if it is a breakfast or something, we see how the attendance is going. Once we've locked in the people we really want. Now we can open it up a bit bigger. And then that's when we can, like, LinkedIn is a great space to target people to come. And then even for like the people who are going from Hootsuite, they'll share it as well on their social networks, and that we see a lot of traffic come from that as well.
So, Laura, help me answer this question. I'm going to do a bit of a role play with you because it happens with me all the time. So I'm just hoping that someone can tell me like what the right answer is. So you have this really great customer or this really great prospect who has signed up, and then they ask this question: "Can I bring plus one?" How do you go about that?
Oh my god, we have this. We always have this.
Yeah,
It depends when they're asking. Like I've had it that if they're asking last minute and we actually do have the room,
yeah,
I'll just say yes to get them there. If it's that enterprise client that you've been dying for, why would you say no to them?
yeah,
If there's no room, there's no room, but if you can if it's like, it depends on who it is. Yeah. If it's a client that you really want, yes. If it's, I would say more so if it's a prospect you really want.
yeah,
If it's a current customer, maybe you have a little bit more pushback with them there,
yeah,
unless the renewal's at risk or something.
yeah. How much do you think the venue itself play a role on the signups?
Oh, I think that's huge.
That's
We
huge.
really look. Oh, yes. We have, like, whenever we do dinners, I try and find trending restaurants or venues on TikTok.
From on TikTok. Okay, I think I
Yeah.
need to download TikTok then, because it's very hard. Like for me, I just don't know where to find them from. I always ask my team. They're really good in helping me out.
Mhm.
Which one is the most trendy one?
Yeah.
But TikTok, it looks like is the
Yeah. It's fun to, like, you do, like, maybe, like, you said you're from Toronto, so I'll do like restaurants Toronto, and then people are like, here are the top 3 new restaurants, or and then you can kind of see them. And so I've reached out to restaurants that way, and people, when they see a really cool restaurant, they're like, oh, I've wanted to go there.
yeah,
And so that's the drive. Then it's like you're not just having dinner at a basic steakhouse. It's like, oh, I've heard the buzz about that place. I want to try it, and here Hootsuite's gonna pay for my, Michelin star meal, sign me up.
Makes sense. No, I think and then so you have the restaurant, which I also feel that it plays a big role. But then, do you recommend booking a private room, because it looks like you have to present, and then there might be conversations happening. You don't want like the noise to be there, etc. So, do you recommend always booking a private room,
We
or like
always
it's okay if you
try
have a
and do
table?
private rooms. Yeah, private rooms. Or we recently did one that was semi-private, and that was okay too.
Okay.
But yeah, the only way would be if you're doing a very intimate, very tiny, one of those last minute
Yeah.
dinners. But yeah, I always look for a private room.
And what about the AV? Like, do you typically have a TV over there so that people can see what you're saying, or is it like really just stand up and give your speech and you're done?
Yeah.
Like,
Depends. The last dinner we did, it was stand up and just chat, and
yeah,
sometimes it's just more genuine. And no matter then who it is who's speaking, they're talking naturally. They're not saying bullet points. They're not. It's much more interesting that way.
yeah.
And then if they want to see it, then great. We can set up a call and demo for you the following week.
And is it all like is it all like a really intellectual business conversation, or can it be a bit more like social, and like ask, I know, like just generic questions? Tell
Yeah.
me the best place where you guys have been, like for vacation, or tell me something that's different about you as a person that no one else in this room can relate to. Have you tried different formats, or it has been purely strict intellectual business conversations during these dinners? Because you have to lead where the conversation would go, right? So
Mhm. We always do some kind of like fun icebreaker, whether it be like we've done like kind of like a game show where people have to answer questions and they win prizes. And so more fun things like that. We did one that this was hard for my team, but it was find like we had the guest list of the dinner, and it was like find out a fact about the people from social media that they wouldn't know. Like, so we would be like, oh, we know, you have John has 3 cats at home. And he was like, wait, what? you know, well, we found it
yeah,
out on social.
yeah,
But it's just to break the ice that way.
interesting. Um, you're done with the dinner. You how did, like, and again, then the natural next question is, you do you share pictures from the dinner with the guests? Do you share, because everyone has networked with each other? The first question is, oh, how do I connect with all of the other people who have been on this dinner? You
Mhm.
share those profiles. Like, do you have typical format on the next step once the dinner is done from you as a team? And then of course eventually we all want to track on the retention from the customers who have come,
Mhm.
expansion from the customers who have come, and then what happens with the prospect. Do you
Mhm.
guys are able to figure that piece out, or is it something that it's not ironed out? Like, we know it works, but we don't know the exact numbers behind it. Like, which
Okay.
quote are you in? Yeah.
I track everything. So
How
we have
how
we
how do you
lots of
track it? Yeah.
so I create campaigns through Salesforce for everything that we do. So post event, I will get the leads uploaded with our automation team, and we are focused on, we follow that renewal of that customer. Like, did they eventually renew? It's usually we're hoping to invite people to those dinners who are renewing within the next few months. So then we can kind of see the ROI on that. We follow that customer. We can see, okay, after that, how much influence pipeline is coming from that event? How much is net new sourced coming? So is there an upsell because we're talking about a new product? And obviously, it depends on what type of business you're in. Sales cycles can be longer. So it might take me 6 months to 9 months to see really, okay, this is the full snapshot of the ROI from that dinner. But immediately after, I can look at those pipeline numbers and see like, oh, new opportunities are opening post. And you can see, oh, that's made a difference because of that dinner. So making sure we tag, and obviously nobody's perfect in this. We have issues with uploads not getting tagged properly. Sales reps putting in an opportunity before we upload the list and it doesn't get tagged and we have to go back. So, it's not perfect, but it's just to make sure you're all over it and following that journey.
And like, again, for us, I'll tell you, like, these dinners, because we don't do breakfast, always pay for itself. Do you see
Yes.
that trend eventually? Like, like again, there can be a bit of a lag sometimes, but we have seen that the kind of conversations you can have around those dinners is just extremely, extremely powerful.
Oh,
Uh,
they're so powerful. And even like I said, when we bring some of those late stage prospects and they're chatting with our customers,
yeah,
and our customers sell it to the prospects, and we don't have to do the work.
same
And
here. Yeah,
one net new offer, one closed one, that pays for the dinner itself.
sure. Perfect. And just on the other question, do you let them share contact details with each other? Do you help facilitate that? Where again, you send a follow up email with saying that, by the way, here are the 20 people that you met. Here's a link to their LinkedIn profile and so forth. So have you been pushed to do that sometimes, or encouraged to do that sometimes, or
Yeah, we can't really just like share everybody's
exactly?
email. Just so what we will do is like usually someone who's like the executive leader who went to that event, they might post the photo of the group photo and then tag people in it, and then they can all find each other that way if they're interested. Yeah.
Makes sense. Uh, Laura, again, we live in this AI world. Like, this conversation will not be fun if I don't talk about AI. Um, uh, is like, are you using AI as an event professional to make yourself more productive in your job? Again, I know, and I find it extremely, extremely like like, it looks like you guys do a lot of work with a very small team. So you guys are super efficient. I'm hoping that you're not just super efficient as a human. There's some tools that are helping you out. So what's working you? What are some of those tools that make you and your team a bit more productive, that has something to do with AI? If there's anything, there's not.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely feel like everyone needs to evolve and use AI or you're going to become extinct. Like it is the future. It's interesting because I was on maternity leave and I came back in September of last year. And the largest thing I noticed from having that gap of time was the use of AI. Everyone, before I was using it maybe once a week, maybe like once every 2 weeks, not very often. um, Once I came back, I realized everyone's using it daily, and I need to figure out how it can make my life easier. So I use AI every single day now. It's made a lot of things simpler, definitely from the planning and logistics and that kind of admin side of things. But really on the like researching our lists of people who are attending events or who could be at events, and cross referencing with our target lists, and I can put that all in there and they can do it. I used to spend hours making like Excel formulas and Googling like what formula to do to cross references. And now I can just do it and it gives me a sheet. And it's so much easier. And then I can give that to sales and be like, look, we're going to this event, and here you have 5 outbound targets for this person. You have 3. You have, it's made everything more efficient. So I think it's like I said, you need to evolve and use it, or you're going to become extinct.
Perfect. Yeah. Laura, what's your favorite event that you personally attend as an attendee, where that you love the most?
Oh, as an attendee, that's hard because I'm
Like,
always
again, there's something that come across, like, one of the events that you might have attended in the last couple of years that you felt that, what, I really love that one.
Yeah, yeah. Well, one this year that we attended, I really loved. We went to Ad Week, Social Media Week. That's always really fun. The audience is really fun. I like that. We're usually where social media professionals are
Yeah,
because they're fun. They're a fun crowd. So that one is always they always have great names and good presenters and everything. So that's a good one.
perfect. Uh, Laura, if people wanna, I know, reach out to you, I know, ask some other questions of how to run these successful, kind of breakfast dinner events, what's the best way for them to reach out to you and
Yeah,
learn more from
LinkedIn is best. That's where I try and post. I try and post on LinkedIn, but honestly, sometimes I just get too busy. but but I'm on there when I have something to say, I'll put it on there. So I try and share any of my knowledge I have, or if we do something really cool at an event, I'll usually post it on there and share.
Thank you so much, Laura. I learned a lot about the dinners, breakfast, dinners from you. Thank you all for listening in. If you want to connect with Laura, LinkedIn is the best place to do that. Thank you all for listening in. See you in the next podcast. Thank you, Laura, for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.